Welcome back to Module 2. Let's have a look at the final lesson of this module, which is understanding progressive overload in flexibility training. So now you have learned why strength is the missing link in flexibility, which muscle groups are responsible for your split stability and mobility, and how weakness in some key areas can limit your range and cause instability. Now let's have a look at the key principles that will change the way you train flexibility, which is progressive overload. So if you've been thinking you've been stretching for months, but you have plateaued, why does your flexibility not improve on some days and feel worse on other, and how to keep progressing instead of plateauing. So working as well, eventually on doing your oversplits. So learning today why the plateaus happen, how to break through them, how progressive overload is the ability to apply this to your flexibility training, not just your strength training, and how to use isometric, eccentric, and active drills, which we discussed previously, in your long-term flexibility. So progressive overload is always associated with weightlifting, which means gradually increasing your weight or your amount of reps, your amount of sets, or reduce the amount of time you take a break. But the same principles apply to your flexibility training. Progressive overload, we can gradually increase the intensity, the duration, or the complexity of your training so your body learns to adapt and your flexibility will improve over time. So with that progressive overload, your body will just adapt to its current flexibility level and it will stop improving. So why do plateaus happen is the moment where you feel like your flexibility is just not improving anymore, even though you keep stretching regularly. That's because your body will just adapt to when it's challenged. So you need to keep challenging it. So 3 common reasons for plateaus. Number one is doing the same stretches without increasing the intensity. So holding a basic split stretch, and you will always do the same amount of time. You will start having like a body responding because it's no longer feeling challenged, it's entering the comfort zone. So you have to increase the intensity, duration, or the depth. The second one is not using strength to build long-term gains. So if you only rely on like holding the position, you need to start using isometric hold, eccentric training, and active flexibility drills, which we'll cover in this lesson. And lastly, you're not training flexibility frequently enough. So you're not as consistent as you think, because flexibility gains, they fade very quickly if you don't train consistently. You only stretch once or twice a week. You only do maybe one lesson a week and you don't practice your drills outside, and you struggle to maintain progress. So you have to train at least 3 to 4 times per week using a structured plan, which you will have in the app. So how do we apply the flexibility training, the progressive overload? So you can do by increasing your stretch duration. So going from 20 seconds to 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And this helps obviously get your body into more resilience. The second one is adding resistance. So you can use a resistance band, you can use a weight to build a strength. This also reduces the injury risk, like we discussed in the previous lessons. And lastly, you can increase your range gradually, so overcoming your nervous system limitations. So you can start using a flexibility drill to deepen the range, and then go into like a PNF stretch, and you can start doing your oversplits as well. So for example, you start into your 75% depth, you hold this for a minute, then you go to 80-85%, you hold for a minute, and then maybe 30 seconds at your max. So the 3 best training method for your progressive flexibility are isometric training, strength at the end range, so holding the stretch, we discussed that, holding your splits position instead of just relaxing. Then you have to start with just 10 seconds and slowly increase your time. You can do your eccentric training, so your lowering phase again, slowly lowering into your splits. You start with 3-4 seconds descent, and then you increase the time it takes you to lower yourself into the splits. And then again, your active flexibility drills, such as your PNF, and such as using strength, moving in and out of the stretch using muscle engagement instead of gravity. So you can start with several reps. So what I like to do, for example, is also using props such as foam rollers, and also using sliders where I can slide up and back down into my splits. So how do we structure weekly to break through plateaus, 3 times per week is more your strength-based flexibility drill. Twice per week, your passive and deep stretching. And ideally, I say that with, I also always have intention to do my SMR and my mobility work daily. I do mobility work daily because I do teach. I'm very lucky, but I'm not very good at keeping up with my SMR myself. And I know that this is what limiting me, for example. So this might be also the case for you. So what we learned today is flexibility plateaus happen. It's normal, but that's because you stay in your comfort zone. So progressive overload is important here. You've learned about the method, how to include progressive overload, and how to structure your plan with progression in intensity. Now, your learning activity today is applying progressive overload into your own training. Increase the duration, adding isometric strength, or use eccentric control, and try and write down what changed and how did the stretch feel. So rather than just do your habits, your routine, try and change it up a little bit and see how it feels. Now we're going to finally get into modules 3. Goes very quick. Strength meets flexibility. So building a bulletproof split in order to create your structured flexibility training plan, your best exercise for strength and mobility, how to integrate flexibility into your aerial practice. I hope that you're ready, and I will see you in module 3.